The Royal Rumble, folks, is this week. One of the biggest, if not to many, the biggest pay-per-view of the year. The 37th Royal Rumble event is happening this Saturday night. Don't listen to Gunther when he said it's this Sunday. It'll be this Saturday night. And I don't know if you caught that at all, but I actually didn't catch it. But I knew Gunther said it because as soon as they were done talking, Michael Cole said Saturday 3 times in a row. And I was like, Gunther must have said Sunday because Michael Cole said, this Saturday's the Royal Rumble. This Saturday, you can watch the Royal Rumble. Remember, it's this Saturday. He said that like that, and I was like, somebody must have said Sunday, because you don't go out of your way to slam Saturday out like that. Too.
Like when Gunther said Sunday, I heard it because I was, I actually, full disclosure, I was watching Raw before our show, so I was at my daughter's dance studio, and I'm sitting there, kept making sure I catch up on a few things because I didn't get to watch all of Raw last night, or I should say Monday night. So I caught the bits and pieces that I missed. So I wanted to make sure I was caught up, ready to go. So when he said that, and I'm like, and then I'm sitting there just waiting to see if Seth Rollins corrects him. And Seth Rollins, as a pro, he doesn't do anything. And I bet you, I could bet anybody $1 million. Michael Cole had somebody in his ear in the backstage.
They put the graphic up as soon as he said Sunday. They put the graphic up on the screen also that said this Saturday. So yeah, they immediately went right to Saturday. But this Saturday is the Royal Rumble. It's a pay-per-view that is.
Wait, what day is it on again?
It's this Saturday night from Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg, the Tampa area. In the Tampa Bay area, this will be technically the third Royal Rumble. They had one at the Sun Dome, which is now the Yuengling Center on the University of South Florida. They had one at the Thunderdome at Tropicana Field a couple of years ago in front of nobody, and now they'll be returning to Tropicana Field, this time in front of people. So technically this is the third. San Antonio has got the most Royal Rumbles. They've had 4. But one thing that stands out about this pay-per-view, and we're going to talk about not just of all the pay-per-views, this is the one that's got the most statistics. It's not just talking about with Armageddon or Elimination Chamber. We just kind of talk about this particular event. But it's the Royal Rumble that has all of these crazy statistics and these who was the Iron Man and the most lucky number and all of this other stuff. Who's gone on to win at WrestleMania with the Royal Rumble win. But talking about the 2024 Rumble specifically, there is currently right now, and I imagine it's going to stay that way. I can't see it changing, 4 matches scheduled. 2 Royal Rumbles and then 2 matches. And if that stays the same, and this card is only 4 matches long, this will have the least amount of matches on a WWE pay-per-view since one other pay-per-view did this, and this was in the in-your-house era when pay-per-views were under 2 hours. But even the in-your-house pay-per-views, only one of them did this, and it was Canadian Stampede, 1997, in your house from Calgary. It's the one that had the big 5-on-5 tag team between the Hart Foundation and Stone Cold and Ken Shamrock and all those guys. So that pay-per-view only had 4 matches. It also only lasted an hour and 50 minutes or so. But even in the other 2-hour in your houses, no other pay-per-views had 4. And recently WWE with these major pay-per-views has been running around 5 with the Rumble and Elimination Chamber and Money in the Bank and some of these because of these tentpole, staple matches that take up so much time. But this pay-per-view, 4 matches. This will be the lowest amount of matches on a pay-per-view, like I said, since the 1997 Canadian Stampede, and that will tie that. Those are the only 2 pay-per-views in WWE history. God knows there's no AEW or WCW pay-per-views in the past that have only had 4 matches on the cards. So it's crazy just to think, because last year we had 5. And we also had a performance from Hardy. So I do wonder, what the idea is. Is it going to just be an overall shorter pay-per-view? Are they going to stretch things out different than we're used to seeing them stretched out? We're going to do somebody coming out every 3 minutes at the Royal Rumble. We'll find out. But let's talk about this Royal Rumble first. I want to know some of your picks for surprise entrance.
Okay. So I'm just going to go out and say it. MJF.
All right.
I'm saying MJF. And here's the thing. I'm sitting here looking at the odds right now. The bet, the odds makers here have MJF at plus 1,000, which is the same number as Drew McIntyre and Jey Uso. and it's higher than Sami Zayn, which is right now at plus 14.
Plus 1,000 to win.
So it's plus 1,000 to win MJF.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, so of all the odds, there's only CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, Gunther, Randy Orton, LA Knight, and The Rock ahead of him. So there's only seven wrestlers that are ahead of MJF. So what do the odds makers know that we don't know to put MJF on the board here?
One thing I really like about this year's Royal Rumble compared to like previous years, right? On top of all the options for surprises, but here's your rundown of who's in the Royal Rumble officially: Cody Rhodes, CM Punk, Shinsuke, Bobby Lashley, Drew McIntyre, Gunther, Kofi, and Damian Priest, which are all, to be honest with you, there really isn't anybody in that list, maybe Kofi Kingston or Shinsuke, that couldn't essentially win it, right? We all know like the odds to win it are probably CM Punk / Cody Rhodes, and there might be a wild card somewhere in there. But the fact is that only those 8 wrestlers have been announced, and with the least amount of pre-announced wrestlers in the Rumble, and a year where there is so many options for surprises, we put out a Twitter poll this week, and here was 4 surprises that I thought, and then seeing who people would like to see most. I put Andrade, I put Bad Bunny, I put Ty Dillinger, Sean Spears, and Big E. Big E is the runner, is the favorite for who people want to see the most out of that group, 45%, with Andrade being 23%. And I think Andrade is kind of a safe pick. I'm going to GCW's event on Friday night in Tampa, where he was scheduled to appear, and he will not be appearing anymore because he's been pulled off the card. So I think it's a pretty foregone conclusion that if he's not at the Rumble, he's back in WWE regardless, at some point. So Andrade is definitely a name that I think a lot of people look at. I mean,
well, here's the thing, dude. Like, that's why I didn't put Andrade as a surprise for me, because to me, I already feel like it's a foregone conclusion he's back. That's kind of where I'm at with him.
Yeah, I mean, definitely for sure. I mean, the same as kind of like Brock Lesnar. I feel like he's going to be there, right? He's a safe pick to be in the Royal Rumble. But there are so many names, like we talked Okada, right?
Well, hold on. Let me stop you there with Okada. The reason why I'm a little hesitant to even put Okada on this list, according to reports, his contract with New Japan Pro Wrestling does not end until the end of January, which is after the Royal Rumble. So what could happen, and this still could happen, so I'm not saying it's impossible. What would have to happen is, if there is a deal to be agreed upon between Okada and WWE, what would have to happen is Okada and WWE would have to approach New Japan Pro Wrestling and say, hey, we know his contract ends at the end of the month. Can we get him a week early? And they can grant that or not. So it's not a foregone conclusion that he can't be there. I just feel like there's too many things that are in front of, are like obstacles in a way, where I don't think Okada shows up. But I will say this: if he shows up, that would be probably the biggest surprise. Because honestly, I haven't heard anything about MJF. But you know what, MJF, I feel like at this point, I mean, from what I'm seeing and gathering, I feel like he's leaning WWE. I mean, that's just a gut feeling for me. And why would the odds makers have it as him that high? You know what happens with Vegas. They make money because they know how to speculate. And they know things that the general public doesn't know. So somebody's got to be telling the odds makers, like, hey, you might want to put MJF on the board here because, we're hearing that, blah, blah, blah. And again, there hasn't been reports one way or the other what he's going to do. He could show up in AEW right, this week, this week, on Royal Rumble week and be like, well, guess what? I'm not at Royal Rumble. I don't think MJF does that. I feel like, if anything, the earliest you're going to see MJF in any capacity is at the Royal Rumble, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's not at the Royal Rumble this weekend. He's back on programming for AEW, I would say, the following week. That's kind of where I'm at with MJF. But I think MJF's a guy you got to look out for. That would be one of the best pops I think you'll ever see in WWE, because he's one of those dudes. He's super over with the fans. And I feel like he would get a monster pop if he surprises the world and shows up to WWE's Royal Rumble.
What are your odds on? I don't know if you saw this week on Monday. Today, as of recording, marks the 40th anniversary of Hulkamania. I mean, Tampa is the home of Hulk Hogan, or at least it was. I don't know where he currently lives, but I mean, it was obviously his famous home. He lives on Clearwater Beach. He was at the WrestleMania at Raymond James Stadium a few years ago as one of the hosts. I see Hogan in this Rumble. I mean, WWE's been pushing him hard recently. I get afraid if he does come out because there's obviously the fans, and I sympathize with them, and I understand who like to boo Hulk Hogan for various reasons, and we all know those reasons. So you kind of wonder if WWE treads lightly with Hulk Hogan, or they just do what they've done in the past, like, yeah, we don't care, we're putting it back out there.
I think what they're going to do is he's not going to be in the match. I'll just say that. But it is in his neck of the woods this coming weekend. So for me, I feel like he makes an appearance. I feel like he comes out and maybe kicks off the show and says, hey, welcome to the Royal Rumble, brother, something along those lines. And then he gets in, he gets out. Hopefully he doesn't say anything, that he messes up something, because unfortunately sometimes, he fumbles his words every once in a while. But, as long as he can just get in, get out, and do his Hulkamania stuff, and then that's it, I think we're okay on that. But I will say, I think Hulk Hogan, I think, I don't think his body would hold up in a ring right now in a match. So I think he's just going to talk and then he gets out.
I mean, there are lots of things, and not just from surprises from outside of WWE, but returning Braun Strowman, returning Big E. Like I said, Big E recently said there's no timetable on his return. He hasn't, but that could be obviously him, smoke signals essentially for the rest of the people because he doesn't want to give up that his timetable is he's coming back on Saturday.
I mean, if Big E comes back, he's going to get a very big pop, obviously, because of everything that's happened, how much the fans love Big E and respect Big E. I will tell you another guy who I'm not going to even count as a surprise because it sounds like he's going to be in is a legend, X-Pac. I feel like X-Pac's going to be in the. I mean, I've been hearing a lot of rumors that he's going to be in the Rumble as one of the. They're going to have legends
in the Rumble. You know who won't be in the Rumble? I can guarantee you this one. And actually, it'd be kind of crazy if I was wrong. But it's Chris Jericho. He won't be in the Royal Rumble. He'll be on his cruise. And then that has nothing to do with AEW. I just know he's running that cruise this weekend. I think it's kind of an ill time to pick. I don't know if he cares. He's just kind of that kind of person. But he's running his cruise starting, I think, all this week through the Royal Rumble. So his rock and wrestling cruise is taking place this weekend. So, yeah, anybody who's on that cruise essentially is off the table to appear.
Wait a second. You know who I think won't be on that cruise because of old incidents that have come out through over the years? I'm going to guess MVP's not going to be on that cruise. Just saying.
I mean, MVP, he could be in the Rumble. He could make an appearance as a talent. I think somebody like Carlito, I think you can bank on him. He's not announced, but Carlito probably is somebody. Because of the fact that that's how he kind of made his return a couple years ago during the COVID year was in the Rumble, right? He made that surprise return.
What do you think about Omos, though? You think Omos is in?
Yeah, Omos is. WWE loves that tall, who's going to get him out spot, and then teams everybody up, to get the person out, and then 10 guys get on Omos and knock him out of the ring.
Are there any legends that you're hoping show up, or any rumors that you've heard that any legends that you think are going to be there this weekend?
Legends, it's crazy, but we just talked about Hulk Hogan, but obviously The Rock is talked about a ton just in general in WWE as of late with all sorts of stuff going on. But, people keep talking about the potential. It hasn't been talked about recently, but, the whole what if, CM Punk and Stone Cold did something at WrestleMania, right? So, maybe they could start planting the seeds for it at the Rumble with Stone Cold in the Rumble.
Hey, how crazy would that be? Like Stone Cold's the glass shatters. I would lose my mind if Stone Cold came out. Because when we saw Stone Cold last in a match, he didn't look too bad. I feel like he can go if he's got the right guy with him in the ring, the right dance partner. So I feel like that could happen. And I know it's one of those bucket list things for CM Punk. And I think if they can make it happen and Stone Cold is he's okay to do it, I think why not?
I will say one piece of lazy writing is that I heard that The Undertaker and Michelle McCool will be at the Rumble. I know they will be at the Royal Rumble because just like last year, The Undertaker and Michelle McCool will be there as part of The Undertaker's Dead Man show that he's going to be running in the Tampa area around Royal Rumble weekend. I saw The Undertaker last year, the night before the Royal Rumble, in San Antonio. So, yeah, I know he's going to be there because he's going to be in Clearwater on Sunday doing a show. So it's kind of a foregone that he's going to be there. He's also going to be at Elimination Chamber as well, in case you're curious, because he's got a show running around in Australia that week. So whether he's in the Rumble or not, I'm not saying I don't think that's happening. It might. Anything can happen. That's the whole point of this conversation we're having right now.
I
I'm
would
just
say
saying
that
by saying that the Undertaker is going to be in the Royal Rumble, I know he's going to be backstage. I know that for sure.
Well, and I would say this: if you're going to choose, and I know we're going to get to the women's match and Royal Rumble match here in a minute. If I had to choose between one or the other, Michelle McCool or Undertaker, I would bet on Michelle McCool being in the match first before Undertaker.
Well, she was in it last year because of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
She was in it last year, so we did see her show up last year. But yeah, there's just so many different options. But my question to you is, when it comes to the men's Royal Rumble, who's winning?
I think it's Cody Rhodes. I think he gets it. To me, I mean, yeah, the whole CM Punk thing is great, but like, you can't keep drawing out like Cody Rhodes. Like, well, what are we gonna do? Get to year 5 and be like, all right, Cody, when are you finishing it? Like it's got to happen.
Here's the thing. I loved Cody Rhodes losing at WrestleMania for the same reason that I don't want him to win here. And it's not because I don't like Cody Rhodes, right? It's because of the thing that I love a roller coaster that right when you see it going one way. And here's the thing. I want wrestling until the day I die to just keep changing directions and taking me here and never essentially that goal at the end. We never get to that goal because we always just go here, we go there. And I think Cody Rhodes losing, right, would set up for, well, what's next? Boom. Oh, now he's going to face Drew McIntyre or something like that. Or now all of a sudden CM Punk is a number one contender. Is he going to go for Roman's belt? Is The Rock coming back? Is he going to go for Seth's belt? Like, what's going on? What about Gunther? It adds so many different layers. And I get it that that's maybe not the best for Cody, but
here's my reasoning though. You don't need CM Punk I don't think CM Punk necessarily needs to win the Rumble. To what they're proposing is CM Punk versus, a lot of rumors out there.
Well, no, I know you don't need to win the Royal Rumble, and I know I know that somebody's going to go after the belt who doesn't win the Royal Rumble, but I guess my idea is that if Cody wins, that we already know where it's going, right? If Cody loses, it's literally like the Royal Rumble on Monday Night Raw in the sense of, is Andrade coming out or is The Rock coming out? I have no idea. And if Cody doesn't win the Royal Rumble, who he's facing at WrestleMania could be Stone Cold Steve Austin, could be Andrade, could be The Rock, could be Jade Cargill. I have no idea, and I love that idea. I love the idea of just things going in directions I have no idea where they're going to go.
So who are you picking?
Wins the Royal Rumble, I know where it's going. It's him. It's Roman. It's WrestleMania. I know where that's going. If Cody loses, I don't necessarily know where that's going. I'm thinking it's Cody, and the reason I think it's Cody, not just because that's a predictable answer, and I like that CM Punk has added that caveat, into, because last year I think we had the one favorite in Cody Rhodes, and this year CM Punk is a close second here in the race. But one thing that WWE has been doing, not to their favor recently, is they've been really harping on the fact of the two-time winners. We know Hogan, Stone Cold, and Shawn Michaels, the only 3 two-time winners. Cody Rhodes, question mark, right? Every year is a potential for a two-time winner, right? The Shinsuke Nakamura, the year in 2019 when he was going into the Royal Rumble, they didn't tell you the whole build-up to the Rumble that if he wins this year, he'll join that class of two-time winners. Every year somebody wins, they're going to be in the running for being the two-time winner next year, right? Every year someone wins the Super Bowl, they have the potential to be the defending champions the next year. But they don't always mention that because that's obviously foregone. We already know that. But WWE has been spending the last week reminding us very vividly that Cody Rhodes has a chance to be the defending Royal Rumble champion. Only one of 3 others have done it.
But this is what they also, and this is the other part. You mentioned some names that have won. They mentioned Stone Cold Steve Austin in particular because Stone Cold won in 97 and 98, which in this case, Cody could win. Obviously he won in 23. He could win in 24. So that's why they're doing the parallels. It makes sense. I feel like.
No. Well, but what I'm saying is that every single year in the Royal Rumble, the person who won it the year before could win it again. Every year they don't tell us Shawn Michaels, Hulk Hogan, and Stone Cold are the only two-time winners. Will Shinsuke be a two-time winner this year? Shinsuke Nakamura, like on Raw, they had all of those lists, and then they had Cody Rhodes question mark. But I've never seen them do those 3 Shinsuke question mark. Those 3 Batista.
I'm going to play devil's advocate now, just really quick, because I was just thinking about it just to be kind of funny. So if, say, and this didn't happen, obviously, because we're talking about it right now. What if Cody Rhodes won 2023's Royal Rumble, and then he's the one that defeats Roman Reigns, takes the title. He's not going to wrestle. He's not going to be a 2-time back-to-back Royal Rumble winner because Why would he have to go in the Royal Rumble match if he's the champion? I'm just putting it out there.
Well, he will be if he wins the Royal Rumble this year. I'm just saying there have been dozens of people who have been in the Royal Rumble the year after they won the Royal Rumble. And it's mentioned when they're in there. When Batista's music hits, Michael Cole will say, don't forget, he won the Rumble last year from the same spot or something like that. But they don't build up Batista being in the Rumble as the defending champion.
Give me Jim Duggan.
Can he do it 2 years in a row?
Give me Jim Duggan. For our audio audience only,
yes.
I'm putting my thumbs up. Oh, bring in Jim Duggan. Let's bring him in. I know, and from all I've heard, speaking of Jim Duggan, it sounds like he's doing better because I know he had some health issues in the last year and so obviously I hope Jim's doing well. But
Jim Duggan,
he was our first winner.
Ever Royal Rumble winner. I will say, it's crazy because a couple years ago, the most unlucky number in the Men's Royal Rumble used to be, or in the Royal Rumble in general, used to be number 30. No one won from number 30 until 2007 when The Undertaker was the first number 30. So that coveted spot was not really coveted because no one ever won from it. But now, actually, it is the most coveted spot as more Royal Rumble winners as of late have come from the number 30 spot, including the last two men's winners, Brock Lesnar in 2022 and Cody Rhodes last year, were both number 30. I don't expect Cody Rhodes or CM Punk to be number 30 this year and coming in, and doing 30 3 years in a row. But it's crazy because 30 used to be the coveted number. It was like the best number, but not the best number because no one actually ever won from 30. Two people I think had won from number 1 before anyone won from number 30 because that's how scripted shows work and not real life.
Wasn't one of them was Stone Cold and then the other one was Rey Mysterio, wasn't it?
From number 1?
Yeah.
No, the number 1, Shawn Michaels won from number 1 in 1995. That was also a Rumble that everyone came out every minute, so the Rumble in total only lasted 35 minutes. And I'm going to guess because that was the first time they were ever having anyone go from number 1, so they were maybe skeptical about them lasting the entire match, so they shrunk the match to be only 35 minutes long. Shawn Michaels, though, like I said, won. And then the other number 1, Edge, well, he won from number 1 in 2021.
I thought Stone Cold did too.
Ric Flair won from number 3 when he won the title in 1992. And to be Chris Benoit, he won from 2004. So the number 1 winners are Shawn Michaels, Chris Benoit, and Edge. In 2006, Rey Mysterio was number 2, which is number 1. I guess they were just trying to be funny there, trying to not make it too obvious. But Rey Mysterio was number 2, which we all know is really number 1.
Yeah, but I thought Stone Cold was 1 in 97, 98. Where did he go in 97, 98? Because I thought he got screwed one year.
So in 97 he was number 5, right? And in 98 he was number 24. Now you might be thinking of 99. He was number 1 when him and Vince McMahon went the distance, but Vince McMahon got the win.
Right. Yeah. You're right.
Vince and Stone Cold kicked off the match, and then they spilled out into the arena. The Rumble continued. Then they both rejoined it at the end. And Vince, with some help, eliminated Stone Cold Steve Austin.
You're right. As soon as you said that you're right, because as soon as you're talking about the whole Vince McMahon portion of it, that's right. I don't know why. I guess that's why I got confused for a second there, where he wasn't number 1. But Rey Mysterio technically was 1 if you want to think about it.
Yeah.
So, I guess
number 2 is the same as number 1. So you have 3 actual 1s. And then 1 Rey Mysterio who lasted over an hour at number 2. Now the current Iron Man, even though he didn't win, longest time in a Royal Rumble, not counting the greatest Royal Rumble, is Gunther from last year's performance of 1 hour and 11 minutes. But he did obviously get the win. I think Rey Mysterio still holds the time for the longest time in a Rumble and winning the Rumble. I could be mistaken there, but I know that obviously definitely he held the time there. So Gunther 1 hour and 11 minutes last year. Chris Jericho in 2017 at number 2 lasted 1 hour. And then Rey Mysterio in 2006 lasted 1 hour and 2 minutes. So those are some of your Iron Men. So Rey Mysterio is still the longest man in a Royal Rumble as the winner, not counting the greatest Royal Rumble. Gunther is the longest in a Rumble, but he didn't win. And Rey Mysterio is the longest for a winner at 1 hour and 2 minutes. Now, moving on from the men's Rumble to the women's Royal Rumble, talk about surprises and possibility for who knows what, right? We only have Bayley, Nia Jax, Becky Lynch, and Bianca Belair as the announced four in the Women's Royal Rumble. But here we go. I mean, we all saw Trinity, right? Naomi wrapping things up in Impact Wrestling. Seems like a foregone conclusion, similar to Andrade, right? That she's going to be coming back at the Royal Rumble. But also kind of not so much a surprise, but we thought maybe we'd see her by now. But we've been talking about this for a month now, Jade Cargill, right?
Yeah.
And my question is, what if she comes right out, right, and wins the whole thing right from the get-go? I mean, we talk about Royal Rumble being a launching pad. That's how you make it a launching pad right there.
Yeah, no, it would definitely be a launching pad for Jade Cargill if that were to happen. I will say, though, if I had to put my money on any female competitor to win, and I've been saying this for a while, I think there's a bigger storyline to be made for Bayley.
I think Bayley's the favorite here because, I mean, it's crazy to think how Bayley is essentially one of these four horsewomen. But if you look at all the WrestleMania matches, the big main matches at WrestleMania, I mean, she's nowhere to be found. I mean, it's always Charlotte, Sasha, Becky,
she's
Ronda,
forgotten.
Rhea, even, right?
She's forgotten.
Yeah, I'm not even just talking the women's main events. I'm talking about the women's matches in general, the ones that are just like the women's championship at WrestleMania, 36. It's Charlotte and Rhea, then Charlotte and Rhea again. Then Becky and Charlotte and Ronda and Becky and Rhea, and Becky and Sasha and all, just these kind of same people going back and forth. We've even already seen Nia Jax and Alexa Bliss at WrestleMania for the women's title before. Bayley just doesn't have, that kind of, she's been at WrestleMania for sure, but man, she sat out a couple of years, I remember, in a row at WrestleMania where we didn't know when she was coming back. She was gone for a minute. And like I said, she just kind of seemed to be forgotten about.
Here's what I'll tell you. Here's what I'll tell you right now, what I'm thinking right now. My final three for the female women's Royal Rumble match, I think it's going to be Bayley, Becky, and I think Jade Cargill. I think that's going to be your final three. That would be my prediction. Well, obviously we'll see it this coming weekend, and we'll discuss it obviously next week. But
what do you think about the boss? You think you're going to see her in the Rumble this weekend?
You got a better shot of seeing MJF in the men's. I'll just leave it at that.
All right. I mean, there's a potential for, surprise as well. Obviously, the women's opens up for so many surprises because they're the one that's the most heavy on the alumni section, if you will, bringing back, a lot of, because I will say that is, we talk about things that surprise us that we are very skeptical when they first come out and we don't know how they're going to do it. I was under the impression when they announced the very first ever women's Royal Rumble, it was going to be 20 because even the men in year one was just 20, right? You didn't just jump in with 30, right? And with the women's pool the way it was, I was sitting there going, I don't even know 20 on the roster. So I think 20 is pushing it. And they went right out with 30. And the first year was and since then has been a lot of heavy nostalgia. But I will say WWE, they could have started with 20, right, and not be so heavy on the nostalgia. But now they're at 30, and now I think it's okay at 30. I think they haven't been relying on the nostalgia as much. I think they've been growing the women's brand better because they realized the Royal Rumble is a good measuring stick to how many people you have in your roster by how many people could be in the Royal Rumble. And I think they looked at it and realized that we had 15 main roster stars and 15 legends in the Royal Rumble. So since then, they've been doing a better job.
Well, here's the other thing, too.
That. We've seen less legends.
The other surprise that I don't think is a surprise, I would say, is Liv Morgan. I think she's due to be back anytime soon. So I think Liv Morgan is going to be in the mix. You know what I want to see? I want to see how far Tiffany Stratton goes because I assume Tiffany Stratton from NXT is going to be in there. I wouldn't be surprised. I would have said Cora Jade, but obviously she's got some injury situation going on there. So obviously that's one less. I feel like anyone that's going to fill in for Cora Jade, I could see Roxanne Perez from NXT. I feel like you're going to see a decent amount of NXT. I hope, because I feel like you mentioned, it's a launching pad for some of these competitors. Do I see any NXT women winning the match? No, but I feel like at the end of the day, you could use them as filler, get them some, get some experience at a big pay-per-view, and then fill out the 30 women competitors and go from there. So, at the end of the day, I still think it's Bayley's Rumble to lose.
I think it is Bayley. I think it's Bayley's time. to finally win a Rumble. Like I said, she's been there as long as everybody else. And it seems like what I was just talking about, recycling the same women over and over again and not having the depth. But yeah, Bayley's been there. Bayley has been one of these main stables, but for some reason she's kind of been passed over. Like Rhea Ripley, like I said, Rhea and Charlotte have been in 2 Mania championship matches, and Rhea is more recent on the scene than Bayley.
Yeah.
So I think Bayley's definitely due for a big spot at the Rumble and a big chance to win at the Royal Rumble. Moving on from the non-Rumble matches really quickly, because it's crazy. Could you imagine if we had 7 matches on this card? We only got 4, and it's a ton to talk about. But the World Championships, the Universal Undisputed Championship on the line. We put it to Twitter. The votes are probably what most are going to agree with, 82%, which I think is still a little low, actually. I think Roman Reigns is leaving with the belt, with 10% thinking Randy Orton, 6% of the vote going to LA Knight, and 2% to AJ Styles. You think those are on par with what you think? 82% chance Roman's leaving with the belt?
I think it's 99% chance that Roman Reigns is leaving. I'm sorry to our great followers and everybody that answers all of our great polls. Yeah, Roman Reigns to me, and I've already said it. I've said it on multiple occasions over the last few months. I think. I think Roman Reigns will be champion when we're talking about Royal Rumble in 2025. I feel like he is not dropping the belt until WrestleMania next year. So I feel like we still have another year plus of Roman's reign as champion.
Of the contenders in this match, who do you see entering the Royal Rumble? I mean, because I think, because we don't normally have fatal 4-ways and stuff like this, especially too, obviously, with not a lot of people already announced for the Royal Rumble.
I'll give you one.
I can see LA Knight in the Rumble.
LA Knight, yeah. LA Knight's the easy answer for me. LA Knight is one of those guys where I feel like, he's going to lose that match in that fatal 4-way, for the championship, but he's probably going to be pissed off about it. And, they're going to set that up where he, maybe it was a situation where he almost had the 1, 2, 3, didn't, got pissed, and he was like, you know what, I want to be in the Royal Rumble, and then he goes out. So I think he's in the Royal Rumble match as well. So I think LA Knight's going to have a busy night ahead of him.
What if Roman loses and then enters the Rumble? I mean,
how cool would that be? Pretty cool. I don't see it happening.
It would be cool, but I mean, obviously I understand where people would be mad about it and annoyed with it. But again, it's just this unpredictability. I just love the idea of just something happening that's completely out of left field.
And I do want to bring up one other thing. Do you see any? I don't see the title changing. But do you think Damian Priest will have anything to say about that Fatal 4 match? Think he comes out at all, or do you think he stays completely out of it?
I guess everything. All of these questions are very dependable on where everything sits on the card, right?
Yeah,
is the world title going to close the show, or is it going to be before the men's Rumble? I think if it closes the show and Damian Priest doesn't win the Rumble, maybe. If it's somewhere before the Rumble, I think Damian's just going to focus on the Rumble.
You know what? That's something I want to ask you then. So I'll give you mine real quick since there's only 4. I feel like they're gonna bookend the matches. I feel like the women's Rumble is going to start the show. I think the men's Rumble finishes it. And then I would go this way. I would say Logan Paul and Kevin Owens will be the 3rd match. I think Roman Reigns in the Fatal 4-way is the 2nd match after the Women's Rumble. Because the way I look at it, the reason why I look at it that way is for somebody like LA Knight to get a few minutes to get hydrated, get ready to rock and roll. Because I couldn't see an LA Knight, for example, go back to back in that scenario. So for me, I have it Women's Royal Rumble starting. And then I would have Roman Reigns in the Fatal 4-way match with LA Knight, Randy Orton, and AJ Styles. And then I would have Logan Paul versus Kevin Owens. And then I would say the men's Royal Rumble. Where am I wrong? Where do you think? No,
I mean that seems like a fair. I guess I'm still kind of wondering too. Obviously, the whole only 4 matches, and I understand the Rumbles are long, but still, I do kind of wonder if there's something else going to be in there some way. Because again, like I said, I think last year's Royal Rumble was not like. In 2019, I went to the Royal Rumble, and it was 7 matches, 2 Royal Rumbles, and then 5 non-Royal Rumble matches. And it was a 5-hour show, like 4.5 hours. And I don't think we're going back to that. But I think last year's was it like 3 hours and 15 minutes or something, right? And I do think it's not going to be a 2 hour and 40-minute show. I'm just saying that. So I do kind of wonder. I mean, are they just going to stretch these matches out? Obviously, is like Kevin Owens and Logan Paul going to go 20 minutes, or are we going to have something else on the show that we don't know that's happening yet? Slim Jim Battle Royal. I don't know. Obviously, that's not happening because we're having the Royal Rumble. But I do think if it plays out, that would be a good match layout for the show. When it comes to the U.S. Championship, 64% of our Twitter polls this week said it's Kevin Owens who's leaving with the U.S. belt, with 36% saying it's Logan Paul. Who do you think's leaving with the women's belt or the U.S. belt?
U.S. belt. I would say Logan Paul because I feel like he's not going to drop the belt until WrestleMania. That's kind of where my thought is on it. I feel like he goes into
he's got to have a big match.
Yeah, I feel like why would you not have him at the WrestleMania coming in as the champion? I feel like they'll make a big deal out of it because it is Logan Paul. So, I mean, again, I'm going to disagree. I'm going to be in the minority on it. I feel like Kevin Owens will he'll lose the match, but I feel like they're not done. I feel like they could run this back if they wanted to at WrestleMania, and I won't complain about it.
All right, some final Royal Rumble statistics heading into St. Petersburg this weekend at the home of the Tampa Bay Rays. Most appearances ever in a Royal Rumble men. It belongs to Glenn Jacobs. 18 is Kane, 1 is Isaac Yankem, 1 as Fake Diesel. But right behind him at 15 is a tie, and it'll be 16 this year, I imagine. Because it is 16 will be Kofi Kingston will be in his 16th. Dolph Ziggler, obviously he won't be there, but he's in 15. Randy Orton is in 14 Royal Rumbles in the past. The most appearances for women right now is 6. Dana Brooke, Liv Morgan, Natalya, and Tamina all have 6 appearances in Royal Rumbles for the women. The most eliminations in a Royal Rumble belong to Kane. He's got 46 total. 45 is Kane and 1 as Isaac Yankem. Undertaker behind that with 40. Shawn Michaels with 39 and Stone Cold with 36. We know that Braun Strowman and Brock Lesnar both have the most in one Rumble, which are 13 apiece. They've each had 13. The most total women's eliminations, which, again, I don't think she's in this women's Royal Rumble, so we won't see any added. But Rhea Ripley, she's got 20 total eliminations for the women overall. The women's record for most in a match is also tied. It's between Shayna Baszler and Bianca Belair at 8 apiece. And the fewest eliminations to win a Royal Rumble, there's 2 people that are tied for this, and that's one elimination, and they win it. And that is Randy Orton and what we were talking about earlier, 1999, Vince McMahon. The average amount of eliminations for a winner is 6. For the year. So the average winner gets about 6. The average length of the Royal Rumble matches is 58 minutes and 33 seconds. So 1 hour is your average. So WWE could say it's a good 1 hour, even though some years, like we said, 35 minutes and some years an hour and 15. But on average, you're going to get yourself an hour of wrestling. And the total time for all the longest competitors in the Royal Rumble men and women is 33 hours and 2 minutes. So the people who've been in the longest, if you take every year's Iron Man, every year's person who's been in longer, accumulate them all together. And right now the Iron Woman for women is Rhea Ripley in last year, obviously, when she went from number 1. She lasted 1 hour and 1 minute. Bianca the year before, 56 minutes in 2021. And Natalya actually one time in 2019, 56 minutes herself. Those are your longest ever for a woman. Chelsea Green, 5 seconds, the shortest woman in a Royal Rumble. Santino Marella, 1.9 seconds. And did you know this? I guess I didn't even realize. You know Santino Marella's daughter? She's in NXT. Didn't even realize that. So maybe we'll see.
Yeah, I've heard of. I don't know her name off the top of my head, but I do remember the story coming out that Santino's daughter is in the business now.
The longest time ever. I think it's going to be beat because neither Charlotte Flair or Rhea Ripley are in this year's Royal Rumble. So Natalya, I think if she can last 4 minutes, will have the longest total time for any woman in a Royal Rumble.
Natalya, to me, Natalya is one of those really consistent female competitors where you could count on her to be in the match for the majority of it. So she's breaking that record easily.
So, I personally, I mean, I'm excited to go to Tampa, but I will say one thing, and that's just because I'm selfish. I'm not necessarily. I wish the Royal Rumble was somewhere, a little more unique. I've never been to Miami myself. I've been to Tampa a few different times. So, if it was at the baseball stadium in Miami, I guess that would just be, cool because I've never been there.
Or how about Hard Rock? Hard Rock in Miami. There you go.
And here's the thing, and I'm thinking about this, and I understand, it's January, so I understand they want to be indoors, but I think if this didn't butt up against football season and you didn't have to worry about that kind of thing, there might have been a chance that this event would have been at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, of all places, because obviously, though, you had to worry about what if the Tampa Bay Bucks were at home this weekend, for a championship game. You don't know, so you got to kind of stay clear. But it's an interesting place because it's when it comes to baseball, it's what many consider to be like the worst venue in baseball, and it's not one of the biggest. I don't think it's up there with Arizona or Houston when it comes to capacity. Those kind of places. I will say, probably, Money in the Bank this upcoming year is in Toronto, but now that the renovations at Rogers Center will be complete this year, I think maybe Rogers Center in Toronto could host the Royal Rumble next year because it's that baseball stadium with a roof on it kind of thing. It gives that what they need, but obviously we don't even know where WrestleMania is next year, so we'll worry about that down the line. Yeah. But one other final complaint. I know you probably don't even realize this, but the Royal Rumble the last couple of years, the same exact logo, the same graphic, like the whole package. Even when they're showing CM Punk and Cody Rhodes, it's like the same as Sami Zayn and Roman Reigns. Like it's the same graphic to a T. I just think, every year it's being treated like WrestleMania, right? WrestleMania every year, and now SummerSlam too, getting its own logo, right? Getting cool. Being, SummerSlam last year looked like Detroit, the year before it looked like Nashville. WrestleMania every year, obviously, has its own logo, sells its own merchandise, has its own identity. Why can't the Royal Rumble? Royal Rumble's in Tampa, right? Let's put some palm trees up in that logo. You know what I mean? Last year, Royal Rumble was in San Antonio. Should add the Alamo, kind of those kind of things. We don't just need the generic Royal Rumble word font.
What do you think about the set? I'll ask you. I'll leave you.
The set will be. I'll tell you what the set's going to be. It's going to be what we've come accustomed to. There will be nothing great with the set. They're coming out of the dugouts. It's what we've just kind of seen the last couple of years at SummerSlam and Royal Rumble. So don't expect anything exciting with the set. It's just kind of to show off that they're in a stadium. So yeah, nothing great. WrestleMania is still the place where they keep the sets good. I don't know why. They love having WrestleMania's always got great sets, its own logo, its own theme, its own colors, all that stuff. But with like these other ones like Survivor Series and Royal Rumble, for some reason they don't like to differentiate. Like Survivor Series in Boston, Survivor Series in Chicago, same exact colors, same exact logo. I mean, Royal Rumble, right? It's in Tampa. Let's give it the Tampa Rays colors. Let's give it the WrestleMania theme with the Buccaneers stuff. Let's give it some palm trees. Like I said, last year, Alamo, the year before, Houston, spaceships, rockets, the year before, in St. Louis, the arch is part of the logo. And they make custom merchandise. When I go there, they'll have the store. And oddly enough, the store is actually going to be located inside Raymond James Stadium, not anywhere near Tampa, which makes me think that they might have been in Raymond James Stadium all along if they could have been. But the store is going to be at Raymond James Stadium because they imagine most people will be staying in Tampa and kind of just going down to St. Pete for the show. But they always have unique merchandise for when, like if I'll get a Royal Rumble shirt or hat or something that will be unique to the event, will be unique to Tampa. It'll have Tampa Rays colors or Tampa Buccaneers or Tampa Lightning. It'll have those colors. But the problem is the logo itself that's being used on television, that's on the apron, that's being as part of the promotional graphic is the same exact graphic that they used last year and the year before. And there's really no reason for that, right? Like WrestleMania's gotten unique stuff every year. So I think the Royal Rumble is a big enough show. It's in a stadium, really kind of make it its own thing. Like I said, like you're doing with SummerSlam now, right? You got rid of the star logo. Now you got whatever year it's going to be. I don't know where SummerSlam is going to be this year, but it's probably going to have something that's going to be in the colors of the local team. SummerSlam last year, right, was the Lions colors with the Motor City. Very cool. So I just would like Royal Rumble to do that. But again, those are stupid nitpicks. Royal Rumble this week. I can't wait to be there. I'm going to try to post some videos while I'm down there for the channel. And obviously, make sure to, follow us on our Twitter for all those things. But Cody Rhodes, CM Punk, either way, no matter who wins, I just can't wait. There's so many spaces for surprises. I know we'll always be let down. That's where we'll finish this off. We're going to be let down when it comes to surprises because that's also part of the Royal Rumble fun. Guessing who's going to be in it, but then also being disappointed when like all of those picks, MJF not in it, Andrade not in it, Braun Strowman not in it, Big E not in it, like all those, and instead we
get X-Pac's in it.
Yeah, we get Primo and Epico instead.
Yeah.
You know, or we'll get both members of Pretty Deadly. You know, that's probably what we
that.
can. Yeah.
Hey, but I guess real quick, Pete Dunne. There we go. Let's go, Pete.
Yeah, Pete Dunne, the return of his name too, which we all are happy that Butch is dead.
Thank God.